This is what we're aiming to do on this course is for the outcome is for you to be able to critically evaluate knowledge underpinned in infection prevention and control practice, enabling you to lead change to meet IPC standards. And how we deliver this to you is through 6 taught sessions. Because we're now doing it remotely, we find that it's better for us to do it in the half-day sessions because it's very difficult to assimilate the knowledge if we do a longer session for you. So all those taught sessions are going to be online, as you know. There is also some self-directed learning for you guys, and that's on the learning management system, the LMS, which Pablo will show you a little bit later. You have your 6 sessions of coaching. If any of you have had coaching before, you'll know how valuable they can be. But we have Alison Gardner coming to talk to you, one of our coaches coming to talk to you about how to use coaching and how to get the best out of it. And plus or minus the university accreditation. As I said, I think there's 14 of you that are doing the university accreditation and 3 of you that aren't doing that. So the university accreditation involves you looking at an aspect of practice that you want to improve in your workplace. For those of you not doing the accreditation, we still think it's very valuable for you to think about an area of practice that you want to improve and work through how you might do that, even though you won't be submitting an assignment as part of it. Because this is what it's all about, is for you to improve practice for the people you care for, and it can be for your colleagues as well. That's just as important from the infection prevention and control aspect. So the taught sessions that you will get, and they're in the programme for you, but you get Dinah Gold, who will be talking about common infections, the chain of infection. You'll get an overview of IPC and antimicrobial resistance. We do some basic microbiology with you, and Dinah is absolutely fantastic at making that real, and she'll give you lots and lots of examples of the microbiology in practice, which is really helpful. We aim to make this as practically orientated as we can all the time for you. You also have a section on planetary health. And the link between IPC and planetary health is really, really important. And that will be delivered by Rose Gallagher, who is the Royal College of Nursing's lead for IPC and also for sustainability and planetary health. So she links the two together really well. We're going to introduce you to surveillance. We're going to do some demonstrating value, which you might think, why is that on an IPC programme? But it links to your improvement work that you're doing. So you can use that to demonstrate why you need to make improvements in your workplace, and whether it's going to be cost saving. It helps in terms of demonstrating that. Dinah will do you a session on levels of evidence and critical appraisal of the evidence, and then looking at evidence-based infection prevention and control practice. And I think that's always a session that can be surprising for you in terms of the evidence behind some of the practices that we do in IPC, particularly hand hygiene. We have a session on recognising and managing outbreaks, the sustainability and the link to IPC. And then on the last day, we'll be taking you through some of the more leadership aspects, assurance and regulation, leading and communicating infection prevention and control, and raising concerns and difficult conversations. So these are all the things that you will get in the delivered content. Now, we record all the sessions that we do. So if you are unable to attend for any of them, or if you cannot attend for all of the session, you have to dip in and out. We understand entirely that you have work commitments. That means sometimes you have urgent things happen and you have to dip in and out. You will be able to review the recorded sessions. And at the end of the session, if you want to go back, you think, yes, I just want to go back over and say what Dinah said about that, you have those to access. And Pablo's really good at getting those on the learning management system as soon as he possibly can. In addition to the taught sessions, there is also some online content for you to look at as well. Now, we are in the process of reviewing all the online content, so it might not look exactly the same as what I'm showing you on here now, and some of the titles for this may have changed. But we've got additional stuff on there for things like antimicrobial resistance, immunity and immunology, organisms of clinical significance. We also have a virtual laboratory for you. So for those of you that have never been inside a microbiology laboratory, you can go and explore what goes on and what happens with your specimens, and it underpins the importance of why getting the specimen correct and getting the clinical details correct are so important for your for getting it right for your patients. There's sepsis, influenza, tuberculosis, and there's also the discussion group, which I've mentioned, which is a great resource for you guys to communicate with each other, to put up any articles that you think might be useful to others. You can put files up on there. You can link to internet resources on there. So we really encourage you to use the discussion group as much as you can to communicate outside of the taught parts of the programme that we have. These are the important dates for you. So we will see you again next week on Thursday and Friday, the 12th and the 13th. Then we see you again in October, the 10th and the 11th. For those of you doing the assignments, your formative assignment due date is the 18th of October. And then you have a group tutorial with Winnie on the 11th of November. The time of that will be advised in due course, but just note that for your diaries for the moment. Anything in italics is only for you guys that are doing the assessments on this course. And then our final 2 days that we're together are the 14th and the 15th of November, and then your summative assignment is due on the 13th of December, which is great because you'll have that in before Christmas, then you can do all your Christmas shopping. You won't get your final results until the 4th of February, and that's always due to the fact that the university works on Pacific term times, and they have set dates for when they do their review of their final sort of review of everything, and their boards where they approve the results for all of their programs. So that's why it takes so long for you to get your final results. So that's a really quick overview to the program. I'm going to stop sharing at this point and just ask if anybody has any questions at this stage about the program and how it's going to run. No, you're all very quiet there at the moment. We'll get you talking at some point, don't you worry. We'll get you using the hands up and the technology and the discussion and everything. So no. Okay, that's fine. I can see that Alison has joined us. Thank you for joining a few minutes early, Alison. That's great. If you're happy, we'll move straight into your session on coaching during the program, and I get you to introduce yourself to the group that we have here. They're from a very wide variety of backgrounds, Alison. They work all over it's mainly England. And they work all over the country, working in hospice, hospitals, community, commissioning. So it's really good that we've got that mixed. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Alison, to tell them all about the coaching provision.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me and see me? Hi there. Is anybody from Scotland? Anybody from Scotland?
Other than myself as an RCN member of staff, Caroline.
Well, hello. It's only I've just moved up to living very close to Berwick-on-Tweed, and I can almost see Scotland from my desk. So I just wanted to see if there's anyone from Scotland.
It's just me on this cohort.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I've just been asked to come along and give you a little bit of hopefully insight, clarification on what the coaching offer is all about as part of this program. Myself and my colleague Rita, it's Rita, isn't it, Chris? Is that right? We've got will be between us looking after you for, I think it's up to 6 sessions during the lifetime of the programme to work with you in a, oh, there's a question up there as well, Chris, if you want to.
Yes, we'll get that answered, Alison. It's
yeah,
not about coaching, it's about credit. So I'm going to get Bettina to answer that one for me.
That's fine. That's fine. Sorry, I just saw it pop up. Yeah. So Rita and I will be working with you to deliver the coaching sessions. I say deliver. For each coaching session, there's very much an emphasis on yourself and your coach working together on a shared agenda, and that shared agenda is making the most of the programme for you. For those of you that are looking for accreditation and points, Rita will be looking after you and will be supporting you through the various points at which you need to deliver certain things. She'll be working with you on making sure that you reach the goals that you've set, that you want to achieve, and helping you to deliver your academic pieces. For the people who are not there, not doing that, I will be looking after you, and my role will be very specifically helping you to, if you like, reflect on the learning that you've had on the days, reflect on any insights you might have picked up, and have a think about how you might want to apply that learning practically in your workplace, how you might reflect on some of your own experiences in the work that you do, using on the basis that you learn more really from reflecting on your experiences and thinking about how you might things do differently. So I'll be a kind of a link person for you, a link between the learning days, the days you spend together in this format, and the in-between, taking it back to work. And I'll be working with you to reflect on that. It's very much about you taking the lead in terms of agenda setting for each session. If you want to talk about specific things, you just need to tell me. My approach is that based on the fact that when you explain something to somebody, something you've been thinking about maybe, something you've been trying to apply, or a problem or an issue you've been having a look at, or maybe an improvement you want to make, when you explain it to a person who does not know is not in your world, you think about it differently. You have to think about it differently because you have to articulate it, you have to explain it, and it can often in that process, because you're thinking about it differently, give you some extra insights. And I think those are the moments in coaching that we all look out for. We will work together for as many hours as you find useful and productive, and I hope that's plenty. I hope that you'll find the opportunity to talk about yourself, your working life, your goals and aspirations. I mean, I think it's great to set goals even if you're not going down the academic accreditation route. And if we can work together on supporting you in attaining those goals, then I'll be very happy, and I hope you will too. And yeah, it's a good opportunity. I want you to regard it as kind of me time, really, an opportunity to reflect on your positive experiences, an opportunity to reflect on your learning and the application of it. And yeah, we'll be learning from the good stuff, from the positive stuff, from the things that you feel good about in your workplace. As I say, it's a slightly different approach with Rita, but not much. The underpinning principles, I think it's fair to say, and Rita I'm sure would agree with me, are the same. It's just Rita has that extra element of kind of keeping people accountable, is a word I think she's used before, for reaching certain points in terms of delivery of the academic work. But I know she has a very, very supportive approach, very supportive and positive. So I hope you'll enjoy working with one or the other of us. But we're all working together in spirit, hopefully. Caroline.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Alison. Yeah,
I hope that kind of fits. Yeah, I did see you advertised as being here to support this day, so I'm taking up that offer. So
yes, no, that's
have
fine.
I missed anything, Caroline?
No, I don't think you have, Alison. That's really, really useful. And I guess I would just come in at this point to reiterate that you do have 6 sessions of coaching available to each and every one of you.
Yeah.
And that really is, as Alison says, is your opportunity, whether you're doing academic credits or not, to have some time to contemplate, think, plan, evaluate what it is that you do in practice. Very rarely do we have that opportunity, often as nursing staff, to just have a bit of time out with someone who is dedicated to listening to you in those moments, and also respectfully challenging what it is, as you've described, Alison. When we work as nursing, we often know, or we think we know, what we should be doing, what we should expect. We think we know what our teams do, what our teams expect. But actually, as Alison says, having that someone who's external to that, who doesn't have that experience of the lived experience of your workplace, or in fact, maybe not even that lived experience as a nurse, then actually that really opens up a real window and a real opportunity to think differently, as you say, Alison. And I suppose that the other thing, just to highlight, that as you've said, Rita will take those through who are doing the academic credits, but still the focus is very much about the service improvement, what it is that you're going to be looking at in your organisation. And yes, those that are doing academic credits will have some assignment goals that are dictated rather than self-decided goals. But ultimately, if you need support in terms of your academic writing, or you sort of need a bit more support from that perspective, that would then be with the Coventry University. Directly. So you would want to go to Coventry and Winnie, and you're going to be introduced to the Coventry link shortly, rather than Rita. Rita is the coach, still very much about the service improvement, what it is that you're thinking about doing, why are you thinking about doing that, how are you going to achieve the goals in the time that you've got, because we know that everyone on this call is super busy in their workplaces, I'm sure, and we have life outside work, or hopefully most of us have some sort of life out of work as well. And trying to balance and juggle that, we know, can be challenging. And that's part of that's actually part of the challenge of doing a course like this, is actually that you strive to try and meet those challenges. And that's where the coaching can also help support you. And actually, it might be sometimes more of a bit of a personal thing about goal setting and how do you take forward studying time, how do you find the time, as well as that sort of bigger, broader work related. Is that fair to say, Alison?
I think so. I think that all kind of wraps into the same message. I have a particular thing. I think that in the health and social care sector, there is an emphasis, of course, on learning from things that don't go so well, or things that. But I think the way that we build resilience in our work, the way we can keep that balance struck, is by reflecting a little more on the positive stuff, on the really good, because you can learn so much from those positive experiences, and taking the time to reflect on them kind of, you know, not only do you learn from them, but you kind of embed them a little bit yourself. It's good for confidence, it's good for resilience, and it does help to kind of free the mind a little bit to think differently, think about new things we might like to do. So if nothing, I'm very strong on saying it doesn't matter whether you're doing accredited points or not. It's a really important opportunity to do something that you don't normally get allowed time to do, and it's a very kind of, it builds you. It helps to put you in a better place in terms of, as I say, resilience and well, just to carry on doing all the good things you do. My phrase that I'll always pick you up on, if I hear somebody say, well, I just did this, and usually you unpack, I just did this, and there's a world in there of really amazing stuff that we can dig into and explore. So yeah, I think between us, Caroline, thank you very much. I'm glad you were there.
No, I think, and I'm really pleased that you said about learning from what went well, because I've just written something for something else just this week about learning from events, yes, when they don't go so well, but actually the value in learning from when things do go well, because actually what did you do, or what happened in those moments that made it go well? Yes. And actually so I'm really pleased that you mentioned that, because as I say, it's just been in my mind from writing it for something else this week, that we actually probably don't, and I know I am quite bad. We're probably, as humans, actually, I think, aren't we? We're quite focused on the critical and the negative, and we're kind of, we seek those things out and we analyze them to the death. But
we definitely do that. We're our own harshest critics.
Yes, indeed.
And I'll be encouraging you to actually, you know, kind of view that a little bit differently, because we don't often enough reflect on where you're in a world that's very much focused on helping other people. But we need to, just one final word from a professional perspective. My professional background is in facilitated change management. And I've done quite a lot of support for programs where service improvement programs are core, the clinical leadership program, things like that. And so helping you to get the best out of your service improvement idea, or to get a service improvement idea, is something that I can, you know, help you with in that professional perspective as well. So I just wanted to offer that too. But yeah, I hope that you'll value, and I hope that we'll spend 6 hours together over the life of the program, or as you know, or as many as you really feel are working for you. But don't treat it as some kind of self-indulgence. It's not a luxury. It's to support you as a really important person in terms of the work that you do. It's to support you, to help to build your resilience, and to help you to achieve whatever it is you've decided you want to achieve with this learning from this program. So I'll be writing to you soon.
That's lovely. Thanks, Alison. I was going to get you to clarify for them what the next step is. How will they be contacted and how will they arrange it? I know it might be slightly different for Rita, but for you, if you could just let them know how it's going to work.
I will, first of all, I've got email. I'm just checking. I've got email addresses. I will send you an email, first of all, and I will be just introducing myself more formally, explaining what's going to happen, and I will be suggesting some possible dates when we might be able to arrange a session. Could I ask you, please, to, if I have only got an NHS email or an organisational email, could you please check your junk folder? Just for the next few days, look for my name, because I'm from outside the organisation. there is a tendency for my emails to slide into junk. I've got mobile numbers for everybody. So after a few days after I have emailed you, I will also send you a text just to follow up, just to catch up. So just to see if you've got my email and if we can get our first session set up. The first session is always, we get the first session set up. At the end of the first session, I'll be agreeing with you when we might meet again. Yeah, so when we might meet again, usually over Teams, but more than happy if somebody would prefer to do it by telephone. Okay, it works really nicely by Teams. If we agree to do it by Teams, you'll need to send me a Teams invite, because the same thing will happen to my Teams invite if I try to send it into your organization. So we can meet on Teams, we can, or we can talk on the telephone, your choice. But the first thing that will happen is an email within the next few days. So please look out for me in your junk folder. And then a follow-up text. I believe Rita does it pretty much the same way. Bettina's nodding.
That's correct. Yes. Thank you, Alison, for clarifying that. I was just going to reiterate the point that you'd already made, is that you will only hear from Alison if you have applied to study without academic credits. I think there's 4 or 5 of you on that list. So Alison will contact you within the timeframes that she specified.
Yeah.
If you applied to study with academic credits, that is Rita Bailey, who unfortunately couldn't join, and she will also contact you in the same timeframes that Alison has stated.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah,
that's lovely. Thank
So,
you. Anything else you want to add, Caroline, at this stage?
Other than I've personally had coaching, not specifically for a project in the same way as this, and it was a very good mirror and a spotlight, putting a spotlight on areas that I needed, that I couldn't quite see myself, or that I just needed to delve a little bit deeper, and it just opened the doors. So I hugely valued, and I do value coaching, and think everyone should make use of it if they've got the opportunity. So yeah, thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you for joining us, Alison.
You're very welcome, and I look forward to working with 4 of you very soon. Okay, thank you.
Bye. Thanks, bye, Alison.
Bye.
Just before we move across to Pablo, I'm just going to share something on my screen for you, which sort of reflects back to what we've just been talking about. I love this picture. Here comes Edward Bear now down the stairs behind Christopher Robin, bump, bump, bump on the back of his head. It is, as far as we know, as he knows, the only way of coming downstairs. He's sure that there must be a better way, if only he could stop bumping for a moment to think of it. And I like to think of this course as, this is your time to stop bumping, and that reflection time. So it links back to what Rita what Alison was saying about the coaching. Even if you're not going to use it for your project, it's your time to do this. And for your project, it's the time to stop bumping and think about the best way to do things. So I'm going to hand you over now to Pablo, who's going to take you through the learning management system from the RCN. Pablo.
Thank you, Chris. Just going to share my screen. Here we are. So upon enrollment, you would have received an email giving you instructions on how to log into the learning management system. If you follow that link, or if you create an account, you'll have access to the dashboard, which looks a bit like this. Some of you may have more courses, depending if you've already accessed our learning management system in the past, but most of you would just have access to the program. So let's click on the program, and here we have our program overview page, showing you all the sections there are to this program. Some of these won't be accessible to you as of yet. As you progress through the program, content will become available to you. So for example, after day 1 and 2, more content will become available to you, as well as some content from day 3 and 4. I'll get to that in a minute, but let's start with about the program. If you haven't already, it would be great if you could fill out our pre-programmed questionnaire. It gives us an idea of where your understanding is at, and our professional leads, presenters will sort of tailor their teaching to your specialities or your areas of interest. So if you haven't already, please fill out that pre-programmed questionnaire. Here in the program information panel, find 3 documents. These are all PDFs, and once you click on them, you're able to see them in your browser. If you want to take them offline, you're able to download them by clicking on this button up here, or print them, or you can sort of change the layout if you wish. So there you have the introduction timetable for today and the program timetable for the consecutive days 1 to 6, as well as delivery and study times. You could view these at your leisure. So here are your online delivery dates. They are all here. So please keep this in mind. You could note this somewhere else if it makes it more convenient for yourselves. Here's some more information about your coaching, which I'm sure we will delve into later in today's introduction. And here are contact details, which are very important. If you are accredited, please take a look at this section here. If you're encountering any issues with enrollment or assessments, you could email Coventry directly. If you're accredited, we don't really have any sort of jurisdiction over your assessments and submissions. So all we could do is, if it's very urgent, we could raise this with Coventry directly. Here are our CN contact details. You could get in contact with your peers or with people such as myself and Chris on the discussion group, or if you want to email us directly, we have a shared inbox at IPC Education. If you're accessing articles or journals, you're also able to contact the library at RCN Library over there. And let's continue to our resources and how-to guides. So we have a couple of how-to guides here. If you're sort of been out of the game in terms of academia, you could revisit certain sort of study skills. So a lot of this would be sort of getting back into completing academic pieces of work. For example, this page here shows you how to manage your time and how to approach assessments in a very methodical manner. Let's continue to appraisals. You can find a subject guide over here. I'm just going to skim through, keeping it quite brief. This is a video on how to access the discussion group, but I'll cover that very quickly as we go on to showing how the discussion group works. This is introduction guide to the library, delivered by Caroline Lynch, who leads the library. She shows you different approaches on how to search databases and find the information you need, essentially. And this is an introduction to Coventry University, which we will be showing you later today. So on to the discussion group. If you haven't already, you could introduce yourself here in the discussion group. Nikki and Marie have, so thank you very much. And as you can see, I could open this thread and there have been a few replies. So if you want to reply to a message, you simply click reply, enter your message. You could attach files up to 900 megabytes. So you could attach articles or any resources you find interesting. We really try to embrace a collaborative environment here. So please share anything you find important. and you can add new discussion groups. So if you want to ask about something relating to IPC, add a subject there, and you could propose it to the discussion group. If it's targeted at professional lead, then they will get back to you as soon as they can. Let's move on to the day one materials. Day one materials will be partially restricted. You would only have access to the presentations and further resources. It's good to have these on file so you could walk along with the presentations as they happen, take any notes. These are all PowerPoints, so you can take notes on PowerPoint and save them for your own self-study. More resources will be made available after day two. So you will see this page populate with a lot more panels. Day 3 and 4, as well as day 5 and 6, are currently unavailable, so do not fret. They will be made available after those respective days. And that is all from me, Chris.
Hey. Thank you, Pablo. I think Bettina's answered one of the questions that was in the chat. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Caroline's got her hand up a minute. So while Caroline talks, just have a think if you've got any questions for Pablo about any of the technical aspects of the programme. Caroline.
Yeah, sorry, I was obviously too quick off the mark there. It was just to add, obviously, as Pablo said, that the content becomes available throughout the programme. It's also, there might be some tweaks and changes just as we work in the background, as Chris had said earlier as well. So please don't panic about that. If you if it looks ever so slightly different than what it did today, then please don't panic. Everything that you need will be available to you as you move through the programme. So it was just to kind of reiterate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. The question in there, Gabby, about the formative assessment, Caroline is going to cover that later in the programme. So I'm not going to answer that right at this moment because we do have a session for you on Coventry, the programme and university assessments. So we'll do that. Marie's put a question there, can we print? I tried yesterday and there was a password stopping any changes.
So some PowerPoint slides do have passwords to, or they prevent you from printing because I think some presenters don't want that file disseminated to other people. But there are get-arounds to that. There are online tools which allow you to sort of remove those passwords. But it's at your discretion what you do with that file.
Yeah, we do ask you to obviously be sensible with the use of the PowerPoints because this is a commercial course, and we ask you not to share the PowerPoints in their entirety with other people. But obviously, you know, we're expecting you to assimilate the learning, etc. So we will be expecting you to use the content of them. But not necessarily to be sharing the whole PowerPoint with somebody else for their use. So Marie's going to try and figure it out. If you want to contact Pablo outside of this, I'm sure Pablo will assist where he can with anything. We do understand that for some people it's harder to do it if you haven't got the slides to read, etc. But we do ask you to be sensible with how you use them. Use them for yourselves rather than for everybody else. Okay. Any other questions for Pablo on the technology? You're all doing really well so far because you've all joined the Zoom meeting. You've all managed to unmute yourselves. You've all got your cameras working and that kind of thing. So clearly things are working well so far. We unfortunately, you are going to have to learn different systems. For those of you that are doing the Coventry assignments, we can't link directly through from the RCM one to the Coventry ones, and unfortunately there's a couple of systems for Coventry that you will have to access and manage yourselves. I don't have access to the Coventry system. We do have people within the RCN that do, but the whole of the team don't have that access. But in the past, we found that most of the participants have very easily managed to do it. Marie, don't worry if your camera's playing up, that's absolutely fine. We have this on all the cohorts. It still won't stop you doing what you need to do. You can join in behind the scenes, there's no problem. Okay, we're actually doing quite well for time because our next session, the introduction to the library, is due to start in 5 minutes. So what I suggest that we do, rather than me keep talking for that 5 minutes, give you a 5-minute comfort break just to pop off and get a drink or pop to the loo, and then come back in 5 minutes ready for the library session. Okay, so we'll give you a bit of a break now. Good morning, Amy.
Hi there, sorry about confusion with Teams.
That's all right. Thank you for joining us. It's absolutely fine.
Right.
We've just given people a bit of a break, so they're all just, we were running ahead of time, which is unusual for us. We're doing very well. So we thought we'd just give them 5 minutes, have a little bit of a comfort break before you joined us. So it's no problem whatsoever. We're doing absolutely fine. I think we've possibly got most people have rejoined us now, and we're recording it anyway, and I'm sure you've got a busy day ahead of you. So if I hand over to you, Amy, are you happy to introduce yourself and then give them the talk about how this wonderful library can help? I was saying at the beginning of the session, I learn something new every time that I watch this session from you guys. So
Brilliant.
Over to you, Amy.
Yeah, lovely to see everyone this morning, and it's nice that you've all just had a break and you've come back nice and fresh. So I'm Amy. I am one of the librarians at the Royal College of Nursing. So I'm just here this morning to give you a very, very quick overview of how the RCN library can help you while you're doing your course. So the support from the RCN library is available to all RCN members and all of you guys while you are on your course. So this morning I'm going to give you a very quick demo of the library search, just to show you how you can find things like books and articles, and then just kind of signpost you to the rest of our support because we haven't got very long, and you don't really want to listen to me waffle for an hour, so we're going to keep it short and sweet this morning. So let me just share my screen. You can all see the library search page now. So
yep, we've got you. It's a little bit slow loading, okay. Amy. We've still got some grey blocks.
Interesting. Weird. So yeah, to get to the library, if you go to the RCN webpage and just click on library, you can get to the library homepage, which looks like this. Hopefully it will be loading if it's not loaded already. So when you're looking for articles, books, anything like that, probably the best place to start is library search, which is right slap bang in the center of the screen. So when you're searching, just use keywords. So if I just search infection prevention and then click search, wait for it to load. You'll see, hopefully, that you get a lot of results. So for infection prevention as a general search, you've got nearly 500,000 searches, probably a bit more than anyone is ever wanting to read. So you can then start to use some of the filters. So if you say you only wanted physical books, because the RCN library does offer a free postal loan service. So if you are interested in having physical books, you can complete the form on the right hand side that says postal loans, and we will post out our print collection to you for free, and it's completely free for you to post it back. So it's worth remembering that we offer that service. And to find what we have physically, there's a filter on the left for physical books in the library. Alternatively, if you want to use ebooks, you can filter it to just ebooks. And if you are looking for journal articles, you can use the filters for full text online and scholarly and peer reviewed. So that will bring you stuff that we definitely have access to online and the kind of best quality resources that we have. Other filters are things like publication date. So you can kind of filter it to if you only want, say, the last 5 years. And then there are a load more filters on things like the discipline. So you can kind of filter down. So there will be nursing on here somewhere. And you can then kind of tailor it to infection prevention from a nursing perspective. Once you've found something that you think looks interesting, to access, you just click on the full text online, or if it is a print book and you would like to borrow it, just make a note of the details. And then, as I said before, just fill in the postal loan form and that will be sent out to you the next working day, which is really nice and easy. So that's kind of the quick overview of the library search. Does anyone have any questions at this stage? I'm not seeing anything.
It's quiet at the moment. I don't
that's
think anybody's
all good.
come up with anything.
That's fine. Just like to check in. So you will see in the bottom corner this nice green box that pops up every now and then. So the library has a live chat service. So if you do have any questions about library search or about the library in general, you can click on chat now. And during our kind of 9 to 7 hours, that is staffed by a live person within the library. So it's not a bot, you're not getting a bot answer, you are chatting live to someone working in London. And they can answer kind of any questions about using the library. If you're looking for a particular book and you can't find it, anything like that, just drop them a message and they'll get straight back to you. If I just go back to the main library homepage, just to flag a couple of other things that might be of interest. So the books, journals and databases page. So if you are interested in kind of doing a more in-depth search, you can have a look at our library databases. So CINAHL will be the biggest one that we would recommend. I'm not going to demo that this morning, but if anyone does want some further help on using any of the databases, you can book onto a one-to-one with the library and we can talk you through it. We also have subject guides, which are kind of a curated list in conjunction with the RCN forums. So they cover a wide range of areas of nursing, but they will always include kind of recommended resources, books and journals on all of the topic areas. So if that's something that's useful, have a look at those. We do also have some reading lists. They're not kind of subject specific for the course you're doing, but we kind of have more general ones. So we have kind of a study skills reading list. So if you kind of want a bit more help on writing or reading, all those kind of skills, we have those all curated in a collection just here. Just sorry, let me go back. And if you want further support with kind of any of the searching databases, finding information, if you click on the support tab right at the top of the screen and then click on literature searching and training, this will take you to where you can either book a one-to-one or book onto one of our group training sessions. We also have short videos on kind of library search and some of the bigger databases. We have an interactive guide on how to do a literature search, which is really helpful if you kind of want to just go through step by step the process for doing your own literature search. So that's worth bearing in mind. And also under the support tab, we have a section on referencing tools and training. So one that we would usually recommend is Zotero Bib, which is a really easy, quick system you can use to create references and citations in, I think it's got over 10,000 different styles. So you can then tailor it to your specific institution and style that you're using. And we are running a group training session on that on the 2nd of October, if anyone is interested in finding out more about the easy referencing you can just sign up to that from the library website. So that has been my very whistle stop tour. Does anyone have any questions about any of that?
There is one in the chat.
Oh, excellent. I can't see the chat.
No, that's why I do it for you. How long is the on loan for if they borrow physical books?
So if you borrow physical books, you get it. I can show you the page if you just bear with me, because basically you can just keep renewing them. You can borrow them for 8 weeks. You can borrow 8 items for 4 weeks. And if no one else has reserved it, you can just keep renewing it up to 5 times. Yep. And it's, yeah, the postal lanes are really good because it's like when you order something online when you've done shopping, it's the same process for returning it. You kind of just take it along to your newsagents and then post it back to us. So it's a really, really quick, easy system, and obviously no cost to you guys. Yeah. So yeah, any other questions? Yeah. I was going to say, if anyone does think of anything, feel free to drop us an email or message us on the chat. I know it's kind of quite overwhelming when we try and throw all of the information at you in 10-15 minutes. So it's understandable. If you do come up with some questions later, just get in touch. We're more than happy to help. And yeah, we'd love to see you at the trainings and book a one-to-one if it's useful to you.
It really is a good resource for you. You have access to some of the infection prevention and control journals through the library. The key ones that you are going to need, you've got access to. The core textbooks that you will need for this, I think most of those are on e-reading rather than hard copies. I know for some people it's easier to have the hard copies, but all what you need, the resources that you should need for this course are available. Caroline, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, I was just going to vouch for the the renewal and such like, because I currently have a book at the moment that I'm renewing.
I need to renew mine. I'm about to start getting angry emails from myself, because I haven't returned the book I've got on loan.
No, I've just renewed, so I have another extended period for my book, because thankfully nobody has asked for it. But yes, so it's just to vouch out how useful it is.
We also say we don't fine people if they don't bring them back on time.
Okay.
So if we don't run a fine service, the only time we would ask you to pay is if you've lost the book. Yeah. So even if you haven't returned it on time, we don't actually fine you. It's just more of a please bring it back at some point.
Yeah. And I guess it's just if somebody else has requested it, that's when that's when we would start to want it back, because I suppose you've got to be mindful if there are other people requesting it, then because it's likely to be your colleagues on your course. Yeah, well, exactly, fairness. But good, thank you.
That's lovely, thank you. I'm going to do a little bit of a plug here. When you think what we pay for our RCM membership fees, which I think is £16.40 at the month, I know it's going up, but that's all we're paying at the moment. To have access to a service like this from the library, I think is fantastic value personally. So I am going to do a plug for it, because obviously if you're not an RCM member, your access to the library will stop after the course stops. And it's something that you might find quite valuable for your ongoing clinical practice. The infection prevention control journals, if you're a member of the library, they are available for you. They might not be available sort of as soon as if you subscribe to them personally, but you do have access to them. So it's a fantastic resource, and the support that you get. Thank you, Amy.
No worries. But yeah,
Any other questions before Amy leaves us? Just checking. No, that's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning, Amy.
Nice to meet you all.
Thanks. Bye. Right. Okay, so that's the end of the content for everybody. I just stop and check at this point if there are any queries or questions from the whole group about what you've heard so far. Anything that's causing you anxiety at the moment about it, apart from the assignments, because Caroline's going to talk about that, and then you'll have no anxieties once Caroline's done that session. You'll be absolutely fine. Please don't get anxieties about it. Everybody does really well doing this course, so please don't get anxious, because the coaching, I think, is one of the things that really helps people get through this well. So anything else from anybody on the technology, what we're doing? No? Okay. Those of you then that aren't doing the academic credits, please feel free to leave. Please feel free to stay if you just want to see what it's all about, if you're thinking about doing any of the RCN accredited courses in the future, if you just want to get a little bit of a taster about what some of it is all about, you're welcome to stay. But if you are leaving us now, I look forward to seeing you, and the rest of the team, we all look forward to seeing you next Thursday morning. And I'm going to hand back to Pablo now, who's going to line up the video about Coventry University for us. Pablo. Okay. I think if we could stop the video at this stage,
Sure.
Caroline, I don't know what your view is, but I think we'd be better letting people watch this themselves rather than trying to do it through here. Yeah, we'll make sure that you've got access to the video, and I think we'll move on to Caroline talking about the programme university assignments at this stage, and let you guys watch the video before you start with us next week.
Great, thank you. Right, I'll just share my screen. So yeah, the purpose of this session is just a quick overview to give you a bit of a overview of the programme assessments for those of you that are doing the academic credits for this infection prevention and control module. As Chris said, we know that any programme with assignments can bring anxiety, and I think actually that it's natural. We all feel that. Any of us that have done programmes with some level of expectation around assessment and marking have that sense of potentially worry and a bit of dread around that. But what we're hopefully going to do is put some of that at ease. And obviously, if you do have any questions, then you can ask me those questions now or as you go through the programme. Obviously, we can ask any questions that you need through the discussion group. Also support one another as well. And as Pablo's already shared with you, there are resources available to you to support you with your academic writing, because for some of you it might have been some time since you've completed any sort of academic writing. So I'll just move my slides if I can. So just to give you a bit of an overview, we have 2 points in the programme in which you will submit an assessment. One of those, and the first one of those, is the formative assessment, and Chris shared the dates for that earlier, and they will be on the learner management system as well, so that you can have those dates if you've not written them down, or you'll forget. I'll forget, so don't I've already forgotten. That's why I'm not telling you the date. So I don't expect you to remember it all at the moment. The purpose of the formative assessment is really just to show your learning to date as it stands at that point in time. And the key point around the formative is just to say that it is not graded, in that you're not given a grade for your formative. It is used instead to kind of help inform the summative assessment at the end of the programme. You will get feedback as part of the formative assessment, and that feedback will come from the Coventry team, because again, the formative, which you've not now seen the video for, obviously from Coventry, but you do upload your assessments directly to the Coventry system, Aula, I believe the name of the system is, and they will review your submissions, and then for the formative part they will provide you with feedback. And the idea being that obviously then you've got a sense of where you're at and where you might need to make some adjustments, whether that's maybe some adjustments in your thinking. Often the adjustments actually, if I'm being honest, are around your critical thinking, needing to be a bit more evidence around critical thinking, and the academia side of being able to meet the academic writing elements. So try and use the formative as it really is what it is. It's just a learning opportunity. Don't panic if you get significant feedback. Use that to really help you then with your coach, with going back to the university, coming to us to actually help you then obviously improve and grow for the summative. The summative assessment, it evaluates your learning at the end of the programme, and then it ultimately is the final assessment that you will submit, and it will be marked. It's marked against the appropriate level in which you have signed up to study. So if you're studying at level 6, your submission will be marked against the academic requirements for a level 6. And then obviously, if it's level 7 that you're studying at, you will be assessed at level 7. And they will obviously, again, you will submit that via Aula. They will review your submissions. They will provide you with a mark and a grade for your submission. Approximately 3 weeks after the submission is usually when the provisional marks are announced. It then has to go through the process of the university processes of confirmation, going to the programme board so that they have it consolidated, and then your sort of final results come out beyond that date. But what I should just say, because I think some people worry a bit, most times, whatever grade you get for your summative assessment, it will not, and it should not, significantly change once it's going through the programme board, the examination board. Because ultimately Coventry are good at marking assessments. They do it all the time. So really, most results that you get will be pretty accurate. It might be up or down ever so slightly, but it should not be significantly different, or that would actually indicate a significant issue with the marking rather than necessarily the assessment per se. So although it can feel a wee bit frustrating waiting for that final confirmed mark, just be reassured that in the main it won't change very much between what you get in the first instance. So for the formative, and I know there was a question earlier, I think it might have been Gabby that had asked that question. The formative, as I said, is that sort of point in time as you've progressed through that you are looking at what you've learned to date. So there's a couple of questions that we ask you to consider, and we ask you to obviously answer, but you do need to answer in that sort of essay style. So it's a 300-word submission for the formative assessment. And you are ultimately looking at what is your project topic and what are you trying to accomplish? What is the rationale for undertaking your service improvement plan? Who are the key stakeholders? And who is the specific population that will benefit from your in-service improvement plan? So you're using those questions as a point to demonstrate that that what you're starting to think about, what you're going to do, but you do need to start thinking about evidence as well, and starting to put in some of your literature that you'll have looked at, because obviously as an academic piece of writing, formative and summative, you have to do your literature searching, you have to refer and compare and contrast with the literature that you have read and reviewed. So that includes for your formative assessment that you do need to start thinking about some of your evidence. You might not have evidence for all of it yet, but you will start to want to put some references, 1 or 2 at least, in that 300 words. You might even have slightly more than that. So when you're thinking, for example, about the rationale for undertaking your service improvement plan, well, why? Yeah, why have you chosen the topic that you have? And then using that, maybe it's that you've read some literature around that, and you're comparing that to your practice. Maybe that differs. Maybe you're not doing, your audits in your clinical area perhaps have shown that there are areas for improvement, and then from that you've then went to the literature and you can see that best practice recommends whatever, and then actually that is why you've decided that this is the reason why you're taking forward this service improvement plan, because you've identified some gap in the practice and or some difference to the recommended best practice or whatever. Obviously it's difficult when we don't know what your individual projects are going to be, but again, that's about using your coach to think about why, what it is that you're thinking about doing, and then obviously taking that forward. So it's a 300-word submission. It's 10% of the final submission. 10% as in the amount, 300, because the final is 3,000-word service improvement plan. So the summative assessment is at the end, right when you've finished all the learning online, all your taught days. Obviously you've done your independent online learning. You will submit a 3,000-word service improvement plan, and that must include a completed stakeholder analysis, and that is worth 100% of the marks. In that, you need to demonstrate that you've met all the programme learning outcomes, and you will then have to achieve a 40% or above grade to achieve the 20 credits for whatever level it is that you're studying at. The programme learning outcomes differ slightly if it's level 6 or level 7. So again, they will become clear to you as you start to look at the LMS platform going through. They will become available to you from next week and when you officially start the programme. So not to worry about it today. It will be quite clear what the learning outcomes are, but you just need to make sure that when you are thinking about your writing and you're addressing the service improvement plan, that you're thinking about those learning outcomes and that it's evident through your writing. This is just a sort of rough guide to completion. Again, this is not a set template to follow. On the LMS platform, you will find, again, as I say, from next week, how to complete your service improvement plan. A very useful read. So have a look at that when it becomes available, and that will give you an overview of the expectations, because I think some of the feedback that we've had in the past from Coventry is that you need to write this as an essay style form of plan. So you would have an introduction, a main body, and a conclusion. And within that, you're obviously looking at these sort of key areas. So you're wanting to think about, you're introducing it, you're introducing the topic, why, clearly stating the aim. You might link that to a SMART or a SWOT analysis to demonstrate, why you've chosen what you've done. Giving then a bit about background. Again, the word counts here are very approximate, so just bear that in mind. Don't get too caught up in the detail of that. But that, again, is outlining the problem, using the evidence in the literature. What is it about the evidence in the literature? How does that differ perhaps to the practice, like I've said? And then maybe, that just gives a bit of an overview of the area in which you're working as well. Then you start going on to thinking about a gap analysis perhaps, or any training needs that you've identified from undertaking your evidence reviews, and from obviously perhaps doing some more work in clinically, your audits. That, as I say, most of us have to do audits, so they often tell us where we've got areas for to improve. And then you start thinking about the goals that you're going to try and achieve, what it is that you're hoping to do within the plan, within your project, and why. And then finishing up with a conclusion. So you shouldn't introduce any new ideas in your conclusion. Your conclusion is literally bringing together all of that you've written in your assignment, and it's basically summarizing those key arguments that you've made and coming to the conclusion of those key arguments. You must include reference lists because you have to use evidence. Obviously, to be writing at level 6 or 7, there needs to be significant literature included, and that needs to be in the APA format. And again, you can get guidance on that if you're unsure of that through our library resources. Just as I said, you can link in a SWOT or SMART analysis if that's helpful to you. They're not essential, but if you are going to include them in as an appendix. So you might talk about it in your essay plan, that by doing this, it highlighted that you needed to work on X, or it highlighted gaps here, or this is what you plan to improve. And strengths that you've identified could be. So you might be talking about it obviously in your plan, and then you can in your plan refer to the fact that it is being included as an appendix. Anything in your actual main body, in your main written work, obviously has to be counted in the 3,000 word limit, and you only have a 10% up or down on that. So obviously you can only go above sort of by 300 words or below by 300 words, or you will be penalized in terms of marks. So again, very important that some of these things are included as an appendix, because then they're not included in your word count if it's in an appendix. So I guess some of the ways to prepare is just to take your time to find your way around the LMS. Obviously, as we've said already today, that some of the content obviously comes in phases. That's partly to not overwhelm you with everything all at once, but everything that you need for your programme will become available to you. So please know that. Make sure that you are registered with Coventry University, and I'm sure Bettina and Pablo and such like can support with that if there's any concerns around accessing that. We had hoped to introduce you to the video from Winnie, but we weren't able to do that. So please do watch the video around the introduction to Coventry, and look at the critical appraisal subject guides and the study skills and resources as well, particularly if you've not been in study for some time, because it can feel different. From Coventry, the support from Coventry University, obviously they have, if you have any specific questions around the assessment brief, then you can email Winnie directly. Winnie often offers a tutorial session for support as well, but just to be mindful that that tutorial session is a working session. It's not coming along and listening to her telling you more about the assignment. It's about you coming with your ideas, with any issues, any concerns that you have, and using that tutorial support to work those out together. So it's very much a working tutorial, not a coming and listening. The assessment submission, you will be given all the links that you need for your formative and summative submissions. And as I say, they will go through Aula. The IT, we obviously have our digital support here at the RCN, but specifically Coventry, if you're trying to access or having difficulties accessing the Coventry system, they have their IT support as well, and actually using them directly is very helpful. And again, the Coventry do have academic writing skills support, and that's all available via the Coventry student portal. As Chris said, it can feel a wee bit confusing. You've got the RCN learning management system and you've got Coventry, but hopefully it just takes a wee bit of time just to get used to both systems, and then you can fly. Any questions? So obviously today's really just a bit of an overview. I'll stop sharing.
There was one in the chat, Caroline. Can we give any examples of service improvement plans used previously in the course?
So we don't give examples because that is individuals' work, and we would need that individual's permission to share that with obviously other cohorts. We do get asked that, and we know why, because people have that initial anxiety about creating a service improvement plan. But honestly, as you work through the programme, it does all become clearer. And also, if you using your coach, that also again enables you and supports you throughout the programme. And equally, we obviously we need to be mindful that it's got to be your own work. We're very clear about that. Obviously, any submission must be your own independent work. It cannot be in any way, shape, or form plagiarized or taken from someone else. So again, just to keep that clear, then it's easier to actually just work through the programme that at your own levels. So no, we don't share them.
I'd just sort of reiterate that what Caroline's giving you in here is an essay plan. Yes, in this presentation. It's in there basically. You've just got to populate the sections with yours. So if you follow that kind of format, you're well on the right tracks.
Yeah, so definitely the how to complete your service improvement plan document, it literally clearly states everything that you need to do about following that main body essay. It highlights, because you have a specific form that you have to submit with the module title and program code and things. It's all there. So okay. Obviously, so if there's any questions, fine, still come back to us at that point. But really, if you have a real good look at that document, we've included some of the key things that we've previously had feedback around to highlight areas, and it's often around academic writing. So again, if you do think that that's an area that you are struggling or need support, then get that early rather than waiting. And also, as I've said already, the formative, you will get feedback from your formative. Now, sometimes that might feel a bit like, oh my goodness, the feedback that I've received. But remember, it is feedback for a purpose. It's so you can look at that and think, well, okay, this is what I've received. What can I or do I need to do differently then for my final submission? So use it as that critical friend, that critical feedback that you need to then move forward.
Kirsty's asked us more about the service improvement topics rather than the pieces of work. So I know that we've had people that have done improvements on things like CDIP and training packs. We've had other people that have done improvements around how they audit for hand hygiene. People that have implemented a new policy or a revised policy. Hand hygiene is often one of the ones. People have done improvements with PPE, and they've used the RCN resources around gloves off to enable them to do that. Caroline, I'm trying to wrap my brains and think of
well, I was going to say the other thing as well is it might if you have regular audits in the areas in which you work, particularly, which most of us do, if not all of us, it might be about going and using them as an initial tool just to find out where are we in relation to these, and even if they're good, I would challenge you to do them yourself and actually just see, are we as compliant as we think we are? Or maybe there's been an event, and I know we're saying about the learning from good practice, but also learning from practice that perhaps has not been so good. Maybe doing a bit of a root cause analysis of an event that has occurred, and actually that then it might help you identify some areas and gaps as well. And another thing I think I quite like the idea, and you'll, again, in session 2, you'll get some information around planetary health and introduction to sustainability. I think that might get some of you starting to think as well about ideas. And again, I would, from my quality improvement background, I always think as well, sometimes it's not just about improving practice, it could be about reducing waste. So it could be actually, where are we doing things that we don't necessarily need to do, or do we need to do, and what does the evidence and the practice say that we should do around this? And I guess that sort of ties into the Gloves Off campaign, that, you know, are we using them appropriately? Could we actually save some money here, or time, clinical? Could we improve practice here for individuals? Could we reduce the, you know, chances of dermatitis, whatever, you know? So I actually sometimes come from the other way, think, well, actually, what could we do differently from a reduced waste point of view, not just from costs, obviously. But
no,
yeah,
that's really important. But it's one of the reasons why your assignment is not specific.
Yeah.
As well, it's not a specific title, because then it allows you to focus on something in your workplace that means something to you, as much as, you know, the workplace needs or would benefit from it. So that's why it's quite broad, so that it enables you to do that. And as we said, the coaches will help you. Rita will help you to narrow it down, because you haven't got a lot of words for this. So you need to keep it quite focused and quite tight. I think the danger is to think of something quite big. And you do need to focus down. And it may be, if you want to do something bigger in your workplace, that for your service improvement, you just pilot something that you then might want to introduce as a wider thing later down the line.
And the thing with the service improvement plan, it's not necessarily that you will have done it. You won't have completed it. The plan is literally what you're intending to do and what you think you will do. Some of you might have already been doing some work, and you actually might be in a position to say, well, actually, we've tested some ideas, and this is what we've learned from those ideas, and this is how we're going to take that forward again now with this new knowledge and new information that we have. But we're not expecting you to try and complete a full, you know, actual project in this time. It's just not possible in the time that you've got. Any other questions? We do have another session. I think it's later in the program about the assessment, specifically the summative assessment. But yeah. I was going to say try and enjoy it. Please do enjoy it. The program is fantastic, and you only get out the program what you put in as well, though. So please do participate, be part of it, join the sessions, join the discussion group. If there's something that you found that's quite interesting, share it on the discussion group, because actually that's really helpful to others as well, and it might prompt you to start having some discussion together. So. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. So any questions about anything before we wrap up for today? No, well, not about what's the meaning of life or anything like that, although I would answer 42. If you know, you know. Any other questions from anybody? No. Well, apologies we couldn't make the video from Coventry University work, but I think you'll get more out of it rather than us trying to continue playing it when you couldn't hear it as well as I know you'd all like to be able to hear. So we will make sure that you know that. Pablo, is that already live on the LMS?
Yes, it's in the no, it's in the resources and how-to guides. It's the final panel there.
Okay, I just think it would be helpful for everybody if you could possibly pop that into the discussion group so people know where to find it.
Sure. Yeah, I can put it in the chat as well.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful for everybody. And as I said, apologies that we couldn't get that for you today. It usually works okay. I don't know what's happened to it today, but it wasn't behaving. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this morning. You've got the email address that somebody will pick up. Like I said, if you use that one, that's the best email address to use. Caroline, you will see on some other days of the programme. Me, you will see on all the other days of the programme. You'll see Bettina, Chelsea, Pablo and Crystal. You will see probably slightly interchangeably throughout the programme, but you will see us all. We're there to help and support you. We want you to achieve this. And we don't want you to panic too much about your assignments. Like we said earlier, Caroline, we've had very, very good results, haven't we, from people? So the coaches want you to pass. You have all the support there. So thank you for this morning. You're actually getting half an hour back then of your days that you didn't expect to, but you can use that to watch the video. It's there live now for those of you that are in the LMS. And I will see you on Thursday morning next week. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.